Most of us grow up in a family, and a family is a beautiful thing. And some families are really beautiful, and we come to admire them. And we're going to be talking with the mom and the dad of a family like that today. Are you intrigued? I know I am. Hi, everybody. I'm Victoria Moran, and welcome to the Main Street Vegan Podcast, where we take veganism out into the real world, where it's delicious and kind and fun, and where we put up with the fact that there aren't as many of us as there are other people, but one at a time can ripple out and change a world. So, thank you for being here. And my guests today are Erin and Dusty Stancyk, and they have written this beautiful, beautiful cookbook, the Happy, Healthy, Plant-Based Cookbook. And they are known for their acronym of Eat, Move, Rest, and getting us to do that in ways that are going to make our lives better.
Yeah.
EatMoveRest is a global wellness brand. It's on a mission to help people get back to basics and thrive. The founders, Erin and Dusty, guide families in doing these three things we do every single day with more intention and joy. They're on YouTube, they're coaching, they have retreats and a community. And in all of this, they teach simple, sustainable habits that transform health from the inside out. Oh, and they do it while chasing around three beautiful children and some puppies.
Yeah.
Welcome, Erin and Dusty.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much for
That was the
having us.
best introduction I think we've ever received. Thank
Oh my goodness. Well, you made my day, so thank you. And this is really, talk about the best of the best. This is one of the best cookbooks I
Well,
have
thank you.
seen in the longest time because
Thank
you
you.
really have got the healthy thing, the deliciousness, and the beauty because we eat first with our eyes. We've all heard that.
Yeah.
So it's all there. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for saying that. It was labor of love.
Oh,
It took us a long, long time. Our editors and agents and everybody said, no, you guys can't have someone else take the photos. You can't have someone else make the recipes. You must do it all on your own because you guys do it so well. And we thought, okay, I guess that's what we're gonna do. So we took our time and we made everything ourselves and took all the pictures ourselves and enjoyed all the food ourselves. You'll see a lot of little baby hands in a lot of the photos, and it was
I was
fun.
gonna say we had a lot of tiny taste testers who were right outside of the camera frame, who became part of the photos and part of the fun, and it was great.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
how old were your kids when you were writing the book?
Just a couple of years ago. So Max would have been 4 or 5. Liv would have been 2 and 3. And Zoe didn't even make the book. This is baby Zoe right here on screen.
Aw.
This is her permanent spot on mom's lap. She rarely leaves mama's lap. She wasn't even born yet. So we had to sneak in a photo at the very end that our editor was able to sneak in. But yeah,
Aw.
we had a couple littles and one on the way, and yeah, it was a labor of love for sure. And we are excited to have it out.
Yeah. Well, a cookbook is no joke. I think
Oh,
it was Tolstoy. Somebody said, how hard was it to write War and Peace? And he supposedly said, easier than writing a cookbook.
oh wow,
And I
that's
think
funny.
I think he was right on that. And I love that your little one is on the lap. I know years and years ago, gosh, I'm dating myself, but back in the 80s when my daughter was born, there was
Yeah,
still, a lot of the child rearing stuff was still back in the Dr. Spock kind of era and, schedules and regulation and separation. And this
right.
other thing was coming in that they were calling the continuum concept of keeping the baby close and all that kind of thing. And
Yeah,
I'm just so grateful that I got in on that because it makes
yeah,
such a difference.
Yep, I mean, we're doing it all. We're co-sleeping, we work from home,
Ah,
homeschooling, so we
yes,
are
as did I.
definitely a package deal here.
yeah.
Oh, that is so cool. Well,
Some
when
days
I
it's
was,
overwhelming, but it's overall, we're gonna look back. I don't think we're gonna regret any of it because you got to soak it up. They grow up way too
yes,
fast. So
yes. Well, I can tell you from doing all of that stuff and now having an adult child, so many of the things that people said, I thought they were wrong and they were wrong. And so
yeah.
one of the things was, I don't think she'll be able to hold down a job. And
Oh
I
wow.
remember thinking, but if she can do well in the world without that,
Right.
then why do that? Well,
Right.
she is a stunt performer and aerialist.
Oh
Her husband
wow.
is also a performer, and they own their condo in New
Yeah.
York City. I mean, I wish I had
Wow.
done that
Yeah, that's
at their
amazing.
age. So the whole package with the great food and the closeness and the homeschooling, maybe not for everybody, but it's just so wonderful for those who were willing to take the leap.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
it's been
So
fun. It's been
where are
fun.
you guys geographically?
Florida. We're on
Okay.
the west
We're-
coast of Florida, kind of between Naples and Tampa, a
Okay.
little south of Sarasota, and we love it. It's really cold actually today for the first time, maybe in the last 3 or 4 years that we've been
Ooh.
here. It's going to get really cold tonight, but otherwise we just love it. We love the
Uh,
sunshine and
But we were born and raised in the Midwest in
yep,
landlocked Nebraska.
yep.
ah.
And
Well,
we
then
have
we
great
have a
retreats.
we have a
You,
lot in common because I'm from landlocked Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh,
Nice, not too far away. Yeah,
So,
we're from Lincoln and Omaha right there in the southeast corner of Nebraska. We spent a lot of weekends in Kansas City. It was like our close little getaway. So we know Kansas City well.
and I know Lincoln and Omaha. My
Yeah,
favorite story, this is back when bookstores were a thing.
yeah.
And I had just been on Oprah with my book, Lit from Within. And I went to American Society of Journalists and Authors a conference here in New York City, and the keynote speaker was the late Len Riggio, who was chairman of Barnes and Noble.
Wow.
And somebody was kind of annoying him in the hallway. And so he said, "Excuse me, I need to speak with this woman." And that was
Yeah.
me. And I said, "Well, I was just on Oprah and I'm wondering what you think I should do to help the book get." And he said, "How many extra copies did your publisher print?" And I told him, and he said, "Oh, that's not enough. And you need to do this and this and this and this."
Oh, wow.
And then he said, and remember, like we sell books and we have great stores in all kinds of places. You know, we're in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, we're in Lincoln, Nebraska, and
Oh,
just don't.
wow.
And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to Lincoln, Nebraska next week. So
Yeah,
I made him a photo collage of his store and the
yeah,
people working there and all that, and and mailed it to him. This is, the 90s. It's what we did back then.
yeah.
And then I get this call from the marketing director at Harper San Francisco, and she was like, "Barnes and Noble is giving us end caps, those things
Yeah,
on the ends of the aisle." And I guess when publishers pay for those, it's a lot,
yeah.
but it was a gift
Oh,
for the
wow.
photo album. So
Wow.
you just
You
never
never
know.
know.
So I
Yeah,
have
That's
a soft spot for
amazing.
Lincoln.
so cool.
That's amazing. Good for you. What a cool story. And Oprah, wow. That's really neat.
Yeah, somebody used the term last week that I was really interested to hear. He said uniculture. He said we no longer have the uniculture. And back
Yeah,
when we did, 30 million people listened to Oprah, watched Oprah every day.
yeah,
And it was the kind of thing that, people did a lot of the same things and had a lot of the
yeah,
same touch points. And
right.
now we're reaching people in more individual ways, and it's a little bit more scattered. So I was going
Yeah,
to talk to you about this later, but since we're talking about it now, let's do. You guys
yeah.
are wildly successful with your website, with your YouTube, everything that you do. Congratulations. It's fabulous.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And tell us how you got from starting out to here.
Yeah,
Well, it kind of started back in college because in high school and we were still, under our parents' wings, we were, definitely living like a standard American diet and lifestyle life. Our moms made us the healthy meals, but at the same time, we also got our fair share of happy meals. And so then I was doing high school sports, I was a straight A student, and then got to college and just kind of derailed. It all kind of went to the wayside. I didn't really know how to take care of myself. And that's when the more than the freshman 15 set in for me. I gained a significant amount of weight because I was just doing the typical college thing and eating lots of fast food, processed packaged food. I wasn't exercising anymore or doing sports and staying up late, sleeping in, blinds closed all day, not really having any connection with the sun or nature. And it all kind of snowballed and caught up with me pretty quickly. In your 20s, you're kind of led to believe that you're invincible. And so that's the way I acted. And like I said, it kind of snowballed and caught up with me. And I had just a variety of symptoms that really kind of cascaded quickly. I mean, hormonal imbalances and irregular periods. And then I was put on hormonal birth control, had acne and mood swings. And then it turned into other things like brain fog and lethargy and numbness and tingling. And simultaneously, I was experiencing anxiety and like this mountain of stress because I was in college and I wasn't doing well and stressed about the symptoms I was having. And then it became like, okay, what came first? Was it the symptoms? Or was it the stress and the anxiety and even like feelings of depression? So it was just so much to have to cope with. And again, I'm like, well, I guess I'm not invincible. And it was really difficult. My dad is a physician, and I have a lot of doctors in the family. So it's kind of easy access to get some blood work done, get the ball rolling, figure out what was really going on because Dr. Google had told me, it could be an autoimmune disorder, it could be multiple sclerosis, and all of a sudden I felt like there was this death sentence and it just was such a disheartening feeling. So I did, MRIs and CT scans and all kinds of crazy tests, and doctors would just kind of poo-poo me and send me home and say, "You're fine, there's no diagnosis." And it seems like that would be reassuring, but it was actually the opposite because what I really wanted coming from this like medical mindset was there's a pill for every ill. So just give me a diagnosis, send me home with a prescription, kind of slap a band-aid on it, and let's move on so I can continue doing the same things I've been doing and be able to get away with them and feel better, right? And so that didn't really happen. And I ended up kind of going back to the drawing board, back to Dr. Google, but instead of like searching my symptoms, I started to search for solutions. And a series of health and lifestyle coaching conferences came across our radar. My mom was like, maybe you can find some answers here and in the process, maybe help other people. And that was really exciting to me because I had always thought, maybe I would go to med school. That kind of didn't happen. And then I'm like, gosh, I would still love to be able to help people. And so we did this. And at these conferences, there were so many nutritionists, physicians, so many people that were, quite frankly, fed up with the system and what we've been taught. And they were preaching the power of predominantly or entirely plant-based diets, food as medicine, and all of this was so new and novel to us at the time, which now I'm like, oh, of course, food, of course it matters. But at the time, it was just such an aha moment for us. And we, kept prying and digging and educating ourselves. And eventually we wound up getting an invitation from my uncle, who's a cardiologist, to go listen to another cardiologist at a local hospital in Nebraska. And that man was Dr. Esselstyn.
Ah,
And it just changed our viewpoint, changed our perspective. I'm so thankful we went into it with an open mind, so much so that we decided, okay, we'll try it for 40 days. But not entirely plant-based because that sounded outrageous to us. But we decided to go vegetarian and it worked. And I was actually quite relieved because number one, I didn't die without the, animal protein. Number two, I never liked to prepare it. So I was like, oh, wow, this feels like a get out of jail free card. I was like really excited about the possibilities. And Dusty, on the other hand, kind of was like, all right, I'm ready to go back to my burgers. And
Yeah, so that's actually exactly what I did. I went through the drive-through on day 41 and I thought that's how I would celebrate. But it wasn't long before I started feeling lousy again. And again, we were just talking to a group last night and telling us this similar story. It was kind of like a godsend. It was kind of a good thing because I started feeling lousy again. My acid reflux started coming back. I was to the point where I was on two medications for acid reflux in my mid 20s, and I was frustrated. And I was like, all my buddies get to go out and eat and drink and do all the things they want to do, and they always feel great. Why do I have to struggle? But Aaron and I hit a point where we were like, you know what, this is actually a blessing. This is changing the direction of the rest of our lives. We're forced now to make changes, healthier changes. And so I knew right then and there, I'm like, yep, this food, it had more to do with it than I thought. And I needed to go through the drive-through to recognize that. And so that's what we did. We looked at each other and we thought, gosh, it really was something. Let's go back to it. Let's dig in and keep making positive changes. And yeah, started cutting more and more things out.
You
The
know, I was actually surprised when we went in and got our blood work done as vegetarians and we were exercising, and I had cholesterol that was actually rising. It wasn't getting better. And
right.
coming from a family with a history of heart disease and both my mom and dad's side of the families, that was very alarming to me. And then being told that, oh, well, you should probably go on a statin. And I'm like, okay, how long? When
In your
will
20s?
yeah, and
20s,
then they're
yeah.
like, well, forever. And I'm like, no, I'm
Yeah.
trying to be holistic and change my life with, natural healing modalities. The last thing I'm going to do is start a prescription drug in my 20s. And so, I was like, okay, this is the time, we got to get rid of the eggs, the dairy, all the things. And within a couple of months, I was in Dr. Greger's heart attack proof range for my cholesterol levels. And
Yeah.
so it was just like we kept getting signs and confirmations that we were on a path that was working for us. And so that was super reassuring and exciting. And we just continued to, like I say, arm ourselves with weapons of mass nutrition.
Yeah.
And, people always ask us, like, are you guys vegans or are you plant-based? And I'm like, at the time, it was just plant-based. It was solely for our health. But eventually, it's like you come in either for the animals and the well-being of the planet or for your own health reasons. But those paths converge at some point, and that has like very much been the case for us. But we don't like to be, necessarily exclusive or dogmatic or judgmental. Instead, to just be really welcoming to others and giving ourselves grace too, realizing there's no such thing as perfection. It's
Yeah.
yeah, that makes the road a lot more difficult to.
Especially being in Nebraska, where the license plate was the tagline was the beef state. I mean, it said it on the license plate. There's Omaha steaks, and all of these, amazing foods, right? And we were like, okay, this is going to be a touchy subject for a lot of people, but we wanted to help. So we were like, well, let's start sharing. Erin started a blog. We started doing dinners at our house. Instagram was mostly cat pictures at the time and just kind of a brand new app. And Erin's like, well, maybe I'll start putting recipes on here. And that's really how it started. I would have a friend or a family member every once in a while say, hey, I just left the doctor and things aren't as good as I thought. What was that green recipe or that green smoothie recipe? And that's really how it started. And so we're like, okay, let's keep sharing.
Not everybody has the interest in going to the conferences. We went from crowd surfing at rock concerts to like being the biggest fangirl fanboy for all of these nerdy doctors, right? And people are like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. Where
You're taking
you're
selfies
in
with
Vegas, but you're like talking to these nerdy doctors. What are you doing? And we're like,
But we,
yeah,
and then we're like, how can we translate this to like, we're the guy and girl next door, but Dusty always says we're kind of a conduit. So we're kind of the messengers and the
yeah,
connectors, like providing resources and making things feel accessible to the everyday person
right.
without having to read the science and the studies and go to the lectures and the conferences that we actually enjoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's since then, it's just snowballed. One year, Erin was listening to her favorite podcaster, or both of ours at the time. We were always listening to Rich Roll, and
Hmm.
I think it was January, same time of year. He said, "My goal for this year is video. I want to start doing video." And Erin said, "Well, me too, then." And so we got an old camera out. I think it was one of your dad's, literally like the camcorder, old camera. And then we started our YouTube channel, and that was like 10 years ago. And, obviously things have gotten better, and not just the equipment, but the way Erin especially speaks on camera is just amazing. And it's like I said before, it's almost like it was meant to be. We're having so much fun
And
helping
it
people.
started so simple and basic because we wanted to, rather than waiting until we felt like we had arrived at some special place, we're like, let's just share our journey. So the first video I think was probably embarrassing if we were to go back
Oh
and watch
yeah.
it, but it was how to cut a pineapple. But
Yeah.
that's something I had never done before. And then I figured it out and I'm like, this needs to be shared because I'm sure I'm not the only one. And so we just step by step started sharing, simple things, habits that you can implement to make your life more colorful. And a big part of that is whole foods.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful. It's funny you would talk about cutting a pineapple. I was just listening to a chef yesterday who was saying serrated knife. I always thought, yes, serrated knife, that's for bread. He was
Yeah.
saying for bread, for croutons, and for pineapples.
Oh,
So
interesting. There you
until
go.
somebody tells you, you don't
You never
know.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you seem to use both terms, plant-based and vegan, when
Yeah.
people subscribe at your website, eatmoverest.com.
Yep.
You send them a how to go vegan,
Right.
very clear PDF. I
Yeah.
notice in Dr. Ornish's work, he often uses the word vegan, but some
Yeah.
people are afraid of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I would talk about vocabulary a little bit.
Well, we were those people that were afraid of it. We both had college roommates who were vegan and we gave them the hardest time. And I
Right.
don't think I knew at the time the exact definition or what it entailed. I just knew that it was,
It was weird.
yeah, it
I,
was
I
weird.
had a buddy, and I'm like, oh my gosh. In fact, his dad was a, food scientist at the University of Nebraska. And so he knew, like, his dad knew what was going on in these foods, and he chose not to eat them. But the poor kid, we gave him such a hard time, for growing up as a vegetarian and vegan. And yeah, it was. Again, I think maybe it was mostly because of where we were that we shied away from that word because we didn't want to scare people off. And when you hear the word vegan, I think Dr. Greger says you can smoke cigarettes and eat canned peaches and still be considered a vegan, and that's not what we're about. And so, it's we do often shy away from that word if we're talking to people. But sometimes it gets your attention too. So
Yeah.
we're like, oh well, maybe on a PDF or a title or a YouTube, that word is catching and intriguing. So we use it occasionally, but it can definitely be divisive too. So it's you got to feel it out.
Yeah. It's so interesting to me because I've been around this for so long, like 43 years, absolutely vegan, and
Oh
trying
wow.
for like 10 years before that,
Yeah.
Wow.
kind of going back and forth there when it was so weird, when
Oh
there
yeah.
was no such thing. Well, there was kind of soy milk, but
Yeah.
it was powder and you ordered it in a plastic bag from this guy in Ohio and just trusted
Yeah.
that it wasn't talcum or something.
Right.
So it
Hmm.
was weird, but there were always back then health vegans and ethical vegans. And
Right.
then people that just kind of became, as you said, everything.
Yeah.
So the idea that it's now an off-putting term for some people, I have to keep telling myself, yes, it is an off-putting term for some people.
Right.
So talk about your life and your everyday. How is it? You've got three kids, you've got so much going on. You work for yourself, and I always say if you work for yourself, your boss is a tyrant. So
Yeah.
talk about how you eat, move, and rest in your personal life.
Oh man.
Well, but as far as food, we kind of just remember the three S's as our like loose framework each day. It kind of takes the guesswork out of things. We do a smoothie, a salad, and a soup. But like as a caveat, these aren't just like your light cafe meals. These are like very nutrient dense, hyper nourishing, massive tropical green smoothie with fruits and greens and all the superfoods and, chia and flax. And salads, same thing. They're loaded with lots of rainbow veggies and green leafies, and then, like your heartier beans and quinoa and things like that, and dinner hearty soups and stews. And we try to make things as batch prepped and double portion sized as we can. So, it's just really easy to, like reheat a dinner so you're not cooking every other night or
Right.
every other day of the week. You
Right.
give yourself some breathing room there, and it makes it more sustainable.
Yeah.
So that's the food side of it, and it's really fun. We don't sugarcoat things for the kids, and we don't make them separate meals. They eat what we eat, and that's just what it is. They've learned it. That's all they know essentially. So I
Right.
think that's one of the biggest things with kids is to delay and avoid the ultra processed foods as long as possible. So their tiny palates and their gut microbiomes can really, you know, crave and prefer these foods,
Yeah. And
and make
we
healthy choices when they're older.
things changed when we had kids. Erin and I were not that we ate better before the kids, but yes, we make waffles and we make pancakes and we eat kid-friendly foods now and
From
we
scratch.
from scratch, amazing muffins and brownies then and Erin that has absolutely perfected all of these amazing baked goods that kids
Pardon the
love.
bark.
Yeah, exactly. And when we were, but again, before the kids, we were maybe a little bit more rigid, and I think it was maybe more a little intimidating. Actually, since having kids, we were worried, like, oh my gosh, how are we going to be able to do this? But it's so much more fun, and so many more people, I think, like to see it because it is more real. And so we include even right now, Liv is sitting right here behind us, working on her markers and whatever she's doing. And often we get the comment like, why don't you guys live a little? Let those poor kids eat, this or that. And we're like, you know what? We're not doing this for us. We're doing it for them because when they are teenagers and 20 somethings, inevitably they'll be around friends that order pizzas and go through drive-throughs, but they'll come back. They'll remember the green smoothies that we did, or maybe they'll always just continue to eat this way. But this really is ultimately for them and for their future because, as Erin and I are both turning 40 years old this year, I feel better now than I did when I was 20. And I wish that I would have eaten this way as a teenager and as a 20 something. And so again, Erin always says, well, we don't want to live a little. We want to live a lot and we want our kids to live a lot too. So yeah, that's why we've stuck with it, especially
Yep.
for them, just so that they can have this foundation of, like
Yep.
Erin said, their guts will want these foods. Like they will crave these foods and they do.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
movement, I would say, has changed quite a bit too. We used to be, I guess, avid gym goers.
right.
I canceled my gym membership years ago, and it was a great idea to do that before having kids because we started building our own home garage gym with just dumbbells and yoga mats and slowly started building our arsenal of equipment as
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah.
And now it's very easy and sustainable for me to get out in the garage once a day with the kids. They love
Right.
to jump and bounce on the little rebounder trampoline out there and copy the movements I'm doing sometimes. And we've got the music and they're dancing and the sidewalk chalk. And so just integrating them in, letting them be a part of that with us
Yeah.
makes it easy for everybody to enjoy and make it, like I said, sustainable.
Right.
Rest, we co-sleep. So rest is a little different.
We got a comment from somebody the other day. I think I took a selfie. I was laying there with the kids and they were piled all over me and it was so cute. I had to get a picture of it. And I made the mistake, of course, of putting it on Instagram and most people said, "Oh my gosh, it's so adorable, so cute. Soak it up and all these things." And then of course there's that one older woman that said, maybe that older mindset that you were talking about where she pretty much said children should never be in their parents' bed. This is wrong. This is weird, all these things. And I kind of made me feel bad, not for me or for the kids, but kind of made me feel bad for her, and maybe her kids. And so we're just like, gosh, this feels fun. It feels like a sleepover. It feels like, yes, are our kids going to grow up and be clingy and needy and
No.
all these things? Maybe. I hope so, secretly.
I think they're just going to be well adjusted and they're going to know that we're always there. They're going to feel
Yeah,
calm and confident.
yeah.
Um,
In fact, you read something recently that said they pulled a handful of the Forbes 30 year olds. I can't remember what it's called, top 30, under 30 or something like that. And they looked into how these kids were raised, were they homeschooled, all these things. And I think it said the longer they found that after researching these super successful, young adults, the ones that were homeschooled, the ones that were, smothered essentially were more successful. And that's interesting. I think that we think that, oh, they need to be independent. You got to push them out so they can be brave and be successful and fend for themselves. But I think that being around us as much as they are, and even, co-sleeping and all these things, it makes them feel very safe and very comfortable. And I think that actually maybe plays into the positivity and the confidence, down the road. So it's been it's been an experience for sure. We didn't know quite how the rest was going to work with kids, but
I
so
find
far so
it
good.
actually puts my mind at ease because when Max was born, our firstborn, I just had such severe anxiety leaving him in the crib. And we tried it one or two nights, and I was like, he's just gonna have to be right next to me. And
Right.
honestly, it made postpartum so much smoother because I was available to him and he was right there and I could nurse just side lying, and it was just peaceful and comforting. And I don't feel like I lost a whole lot of sleep with any of my kids when they were born. So it ended up to be a real blessing.
And that's beautiful. This is so interesting because you're reminding me of stuff going, way back. But it really is true. And even hormonally, the oxytocin and these things that, we're secreting these love hormones. I mean, you look around the world, it's like, what are we lacking? Love hormones,
Yeah.
love attitudes. There was the saddest thing the other day. I think it was the Pope said, war has gotten back into fashion. And
Hmm.
if you look around the world, that's what it looks like. But how sad that
Yeah.
somebody would have to say that at a time when we can be so connected and we can solve all the problems of the world. But
Yeah.
that's not happening, but we're doing it. And so I think everything that people do, in their own homes and with their own families, it ripples out.
For
It's so
sure.
much more important than a lot of people might think. So
Yeah.
tell us, so many people used to be vegan. I mean, this
Yeah.
has just become the refrain of, I used to
Yeah.
do that. And
Yep.
Right.
people will say, sometimes they'll say, oh, I never felt better. Or
Yeah.
they'll say, I don't know, just something I just didn't feel right. And when you
Yeah.
really do the research, you find out it's a new boyfriend. But
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
your philosophy about the long term for this way of living?
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a right and a wrong way to do it. Again, we really armed ourselves with the knowledge and the tools and the weapons of mass nutrition to make it happen and do it the right way. And
Yeah.
we were committed. I definitely think having done it together
For sure.
made a huge difference as well, not being at odds with each other. But I do think, there are people who maybe don't quite do it that way. They don't arm themselves with the knowledge. Maybe they're not quite getting the full spectrum of the nutrition that their body needs, or
Yeah.
they maybe don't stick it out long enough to surpass the detox symptoms, whatever the case may be. I feel like we definitely started it by having the knowledge base, eating a well-balanced diet, doing it together, and sticking it out for a solid year before we decided if it was right or wrong for us.
Yeah. I
And
Oh,
it was such
that's a good one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I think like anything too though, you have to want to. Like
Mhm.
anything you do, you have to want to. And I think a lot of people try it or did try it, yeah, when it was really popular, a few years ago, thinking that, oh, it was going to be fun, easy, and change my life. And kind of like anything, like Erin just said, there's a learning curve, massive learning curve. There's social pressure. There's so many things that are kind of fighting against you that you really have to want it. And if you don't really, really want it, I can see why people go back. And so, I've stopped, judging people for not sticking with it and just kind of being like, it is what it is. I'd love to talk to them about how we do it and how we've stuck with it and how, they now I really do want to because I see how I feel and how it impacts me and my family and kind of going back to the kids, even on a spiritual level, how it makes you feel unclouded and all of these things, but it does take time. And so yeah, it's hard. It's sometimes frustrating, but the internet also doesn't help. It makes it so confusing and so hard with the carnivore diet and all these
I was
crazy
kind of having
things.
this conversation with ChatGPT last night. Like,
Yeah,
what happened, a few years back, how all of a sudden it had a major uptick and got really trendy. Well, before, it was like the pendulum swings, before it was kind of fringe and it was almost rebellious, and people kind of feel
yeah,
connected to a tribe and they feel like this sense of belonging.
right,
And it got really cool. And then that's when people swing the opposite way and they want to rebel and do the exact opposite thing. And that's kind
right,
of what we're seeing right now. But, I think there's something to be said for getting off of that swing and just finding some steady rhythm and consistency in life. And I think
right.
that that's what we've really been all about at Eat, Move, Rest, even beyond just being plant-based and vegan, is how can we do these three things well every day forever?
Right.
Not just an extreme cleanse or a diet or a quick fix kind of plan.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is you got to ask yourself, why do I want this or why don't I want this maybe? And you know, I think that, more than anything, it's social. It was really cool and really popular, and everybody wants to be on the trend, and so things have shifted obviously recently, but I'm hopeful, and I think somewhat unfortunately, just based on agriculture and water usage and all the things, we're not going to have a choice one of these days. Yeah, right. We're going to be forced to eat this
Yep.
way. More of the world is, and so I think it'll come back. Either people will recognize the positive benefits for themselves, or they'll be forced to
Yep. Either
eat this
for,
way.
yeah,
Yeah.
health reasons, being that heart disease is the number one killer. Grocery prices are outrageous. I mean, when
Right.
we were with my family over Christmas, my mom was like, "How much do you think this roast beef costs?" And I was like, I don't know." And
Yeah.
I just thought, I'll throw a really crazy number out there. I said 80, and she's like, $78. And I was like, and people say plant-based is
I'm
expensive.
like, for $80, we could buy black beans and rice to last us 6 months, So anyway, yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions, and so I guess that's kind of why we started. We were like, hey, it's not our agenda to force people to adopt a plant-based diet, but it is our agenda to help people be healthier and happier individuals and positively impact the world. And you can do all of those things by simply eating this way. And that's our mission, is to hopefully help clear some of this up.
Ah, well, what a beautiful mission, and you do it so very well. So, everybody, you can find this lovely couple at eatmoverest.com. They're Eat Move Rest on Facebook and YouTube. And
Yep.
Erin is on Instagram. I guess it's your same page that you started way back when.
Yes,
Yep.
same
Erin
one.
Stancyk, and I will put all of their URLs, etc., as well as a link to this absolutely gorgeous and glorious cookbook
Thank
that
you.
is just, it's pretty and it's got pretty food in it. The
Yeah.
Happy, Healthy, Plant-Based Cookbook, 75 plus colorful recipes to nourish your whole body, feed your family, and have fun along the way, which is so much part of,
Yeah.
of the whole picture. So
Yeah.
as we
Definitely.
wind down, what have you got coming up? What have you got going on? What's exciting?
Yeah. We just I guess tomorrow, in fact, we're going to launch a Thrive in 90 coaching program that we're really excited about. We've done a lot of things from retreats to we've got a membership that we love. We do weekly calls and there's an app and all these things that we have for resources. But the one-on-one coaching is really going to help people transform, mostly through accountability. And I
Mhm.
think we're looking forward to that. To getting and seeing results. We've had some great results with some friends and clients in the past where we've seen people
Yep.
lose 40 pounds and we're like, holy moly, what if we could continue to do that? So we're going to launch
And
that tomorrow.
yeah,
That's exciting.
giving people the roadmap that we wish we would have had when we started, because we were kind of paving our own path and it would have been nice to have someone to show us the ropes.
Exactly. So that, and then I did actually get a message from some friends in Europe who want to help us plan another retreat, possibly for this fall. So we're not really sure. We've got our hands full and we always set really big goals and expectations, especially in January.
I think
So
I'm super excited for our new app that's coming very soon
yeah,
because we're very artistic and creative and colorful and from creating food art to our cookbook to this app, it's just going to be very vibrant and very
yeah.
exciting. So,
Like the food we
Ooh.
eat, Erin has even you, I guess I'm wearing all black today, but she's impacted my life and our lives. Just the color has infiltrated and it goes beyond the plate, our lives are very colorful and lively and fun and so yeah, from the cookbook to the app, all these things are just meant to, draw you in and light you up. And so that's
Ah.
whatever we do, that's what we're about. So
That is so beautiful. I think anybody with a business, if a prospective client said, "What do you do? We want to draw you in and light you up," who
there
wouldn't
you
want
go.
that?
Yeah.
So I was actually going to post this next month sometime, but since you said that you're going to start your 90-day program tomorrow, then
Sure.
that will be today. We'll get this up on Friday, January 16th. So
Oh,
people who
wow.
want to be part of the 90-day program can get in right there at the
Amazing.
beginning. And
Love it.
they sign up for this on your website, eatmoverest.com.
Yep, there'll be links. We'll share them all over the place. I think the best thing to do would be to go to our website and join our email list.
yeah,
Then
Okay.
then
you'll
you'll be
get
sure
you'll
to get
get that
everything.
that PDF that you mentioned
Right,
at the
right.
beginning and they'll be off to the races.
They'll get all of our things and
Those
probably
are auto
more.
races.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, thank you guys so very much. And thank you, listeners. Wasn't this fun? Just such a delight to talk to people who are colorful and energetic and happy. So let's spread some of that around. I
Amen.
also invite you all to take a look at mainstreetvegan.com. We will be doing Main Street Vegan Academy in the fall, and we're doing something different this time because people are saying, I don't want to wait till the fall. Well,
Yeah,
it's in person and it's real time, so you have to wait till the fall. But
yeah.
what we're doing now is you can get in on some of the wonderful perks for graduates. So you can be part of the Facebook group. You can come to our alumni reunions. You can be invited, if you wish, to our in-person event in New York City in August. So
Nice.
check out mainstreetvegan.com. And while we're giving out free PDFs, the one you get for signing up there is recipes to help you age like a yogi. So
Nice.
at every time of life, every spectrum on the continuum, this is a beautiful, beautiful way to work, to live, and it connects you to lovely people like
Yeah.
my guest today. Thank you both so much for all you do in the world, for the way you're raising your children, for the way you live your lives, and for being guests on the Main Street Vegan podcast.
Well, thank you
Thanks
for
for having
having
us.
us. We love and miss New York. Actually, I'm wearing my New York hat, so maybe we'll join you in August for fun if we still
Ooh,
have it.
oh boy. Well, I'm going to take you up on that.
Send us an
Okay.
email. Maybe we'll plan a trip.
Everybody, thank you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for the way you're living your lives and the way you are relating to the world. You are a special person. Many of you I've met and many of you I never will, but I know that just the fact that you have been here with us for this 45 minutes or so makes you one in a million, and we'll get that message out. Okay, everybody, on we go. Let us go forth and make Main Street vegan.
Love that.